So we will begin our meeting. Call to order. Having verified that everyone is still okay. The minutes, did everyone get the minutes?
Yes.
Yes,
They look okay?
they do.
Okay. So then can I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I move we accept the minutes of February 24th.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. One off our list. The second thing on our agenda is approval of an invoice. This is an invoice from me for reimbursement for payment for our domain for 5 years, and it's $90.85. So can I have a motion to accept that?
What's the
Invoice.
domain? What's the domain you refer to?
The domain is the name. Therese could tell us all about that because she's a website manager, right, Therese?
Yes, so it's the name that you type into the URL bar for the website
Oh, okay.
for that every year, month, however you want to set it up. But yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I did it for 5 years, so I wouldn't have to worry about it for a long time. So
yeah, it's a good idea.
anyway, so can I have a motion to accept that? And I actually need a voice vote from everyone, $90.85. Jean, what say you?
I say we accept the $90 and so many cents
Okay,
to go through with this. You have my approval.
thank you. Therese,
Yes, you have my approval as well.
Kathlena,
You have my approval.
Dan,
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Okay, thank you all. Now I just have to remember to send it to the town. Sometimes I forget. Also on our list, I make up the agenda well in advance, so I never know if there's going to be someone who is trying to tear something down this month. Happily, there is not this month. So, but we do have, we do have the issue of the Hartshorn House roof. I've mentioned that a couple of times, and some of you might have seen, if you follow town stuff, that the town's capital outlay committee had put the sum, and it has been approved by the town council to go into the town meeting for a vote, the sum of $50,000 for a new roof for the Hartshorn House. Everybody knows where the Hartshorn House is, 41 Church Street. It's one of the town's most historic sites. And a little history, the last roof was put on in 1989. And at that time, they did it a little bit differently. The Historical Commission itself applied or had it sponsored an article for the town meeting for the sum of, then it was $20,000. It was a little less, but it actually ended up costing $28,000 for a new roof for the Hartshorn House. Now, obviously, it's not an asphalt roof. It's a historically accurate restoration of the current roof, which also was well done. The current roof was done by a firm named M.G. Hall, Mark Hall and Associates of North Reading, and he did a lot of restoration work at the time. He's still kind of in business, but not completely. Anyway, the Hartshorn House Association, which manages most of the expenditures and for the house, almost all of them, got a bunch of quotes for a new roof to be use red cedar shingles. And one of them came to like $28,800 just for the shingles, and another one was $21,475. And a third one was around 40,000. So they're kind of all over the place, but in the same ballpark. And the roof was actually evaluated by Mark Hall, the same guy who had put it on. And he evaluated the roof and said, this was about 2 years ago in 2019. He evaluated the roof and said that it was in good shape, but it only had about 2 to 3 years left before we might expect it to have some potential problems. So the time is right to do something about the roof. And so I wanted to let you all know about that because it is a town building, and I do anticipate being involved in some way, the Historical Commission being involved in some way, in case the town needs any kind of guidance. It would be done through the DPW, and it is on the warrant for the town meeting with the other capital projects of the town. So I wanted you all to be aware of that. So does anybody have any questions about that?
Have these three, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead, Dan.
Has there been bids already put in for this by the three companies?
There have been actually, I think 4 bids have been put in. However, they were sought by the Hartshorn House Association, which is a private nonprofit organization. That's different than the town bidding process.
But I
So,
was just wondering, because I see on the news where wood products over the last year have almost tripled in
Yeah.
value. I mean, it's incredible. And that bid might be, I don't know if they have to stick by that bid or.
oh, well, the town put in for, applied for $50,000 from the town meeting. So that's a very good point, Dan. And I know that the town itself also had gotten a bid for about 49,000, and that
Yeah.
was recent.
Well,
That
I
was
thought 50,000 was too much until I saw in the paper how much wood has gone up in price, as Dan mentioned.
Yeah,
But that's probably reasonable today, but it scares me because that's more than I paid for my house.
yeah, yeah,
No, to show you some of the costs, I think a 4x8 sheet of the cheapest plywood has gone from a little over $10 up to close to 40. So I mean, it's a big,
wow,
Wow.
wow,
because
that's
of-
incredible.
these lumber companies shut down during the pandemic, so.
Wow, that's very interesting. Well, that's a really good point, Dan, and we'll watch this process, and I encourage you all, of course, if you go to town meeting, I don't know if there'll be any questions about it or anything like that, but it kind of support the project because it is a worthy project, and it definitely is something that the town should pay for, because that's way too much money for a simple nonprofit organization to have to come up with all the other expenses that they bear all the time.
I agree. The town should pay for the whole cost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So that was that. Now, I've lost my agenda here. Oh my God. We have had an application for a historic house marker. I sent you all the documentation on it. The homeowner of 41 Spring Street applied for a historic house marker and had done quite a lot of research in order to come up with the history of her house. In fact, she did exactly what we hope that homeowners will do when they fill out the paperwork. And then Jean went and took photographs of the house. Thank you, Jean. does anybody want to talk about that?
It appears to be in very good condition. The porch, I don't know if it's original, but if it's not, it's a reproduction of an original, I think. The only modern thing I really saw on it was a light with a fan over the porch, but that's an add-on thing, so that wouldn't interfere with putting it on the register. And I was impressed with the property.
Yep, and Jen has joined us now. Jen, I'm sorry, I didn't notice that you were missing. But you'll see what you missed in the minutes. Nothing earth shaking.
Okay, thank you.
So we're talking about the proposed historic house marker for 41 Spring Street. Does anybody have any objection to these people getting Wakefield Historical Commission house marker?
I thought they did a beautiful job at collecting the history of it. It was very detailed.
No objection by me, Nancy.
Okay. Okay, that's great. So I'm seeing no other objections. I'll let her know, the homeowner, and we'll proceed with, one thing was she wanted to have 5 lines on her historic house marker where it's usually only 4. And I asked the sign maker if he was willing to, it would have cost more money, and he said no. So he's a good guy. Still going strong. He's like 89, making signs in Providence, Rhode Island now. Okay. Now I put the old burying ground on our agenda, I believe, but I didn't have time to pursue the issues that I was going to work on for the month that you will have read about in the minutes. So I hope to proceed with that during the next month. I was busy, I'll tell you, doing a project for the Hartshorn House and a couple of other issues, and there was quite a lot of correspondence this month as well. I see we have a guest, the Renzi Bulger Group.
I'm just listening.
Okay, well, you're welcome.
I have nothing to speak. Just thank you for all your work for the historical part of Wakefield. I'm just
Okay.
listening. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. We're always happy to have a visitor, so feel free to chime in. Okay. So among the things, the correspondence during the month, we had a request from the homeowner of 6 Adams Street. Remember we discussed that last month? 6 Adams Street being a shingle style home in the Park District that had recently sold or was about to be sold. And we were concerned that it might lose its historic character when it had renovations done to it. In fact, it was in the process of being sold, and the new homeowner wanted to be assured that the work that had been done on it had the approval of the Wakefield Historical Commission. And of course, the majority of the work that was done was on the interior of the house. And of course, we have no say at all over work done on the interior of the house. So, and no exterior demolition was done. So I was able to assure the new prospective homeowner of that fact in a letter from the Wakefield Historical Commission, us. Also, I had a request from a person with DRA Architects, the company that is doing a work on the new vocational school. They are want to do a mural inside the school that reflects on the 7 communities that it represents. So they asked for history of Wakefield. So, so I sent them, I did a 1-page history of Wakefield and sent that to them. And then they said, no, they actually wanted pictures. So I went back to the drawing board and sent them photographs of 6 of our historic sites. The Hartshorn House, the West Ward School, the bandstand, the Soldiers and Sailors Monument, the Americal Civic Center, and something else that I can't remember right now. But it seemed to please them. It seemed to be what they wanted. And I told them if we could send them any more information, we certainly would do that. So that was that. And then I don't know, did anyone else? Oh, also in the past month, the Vision 2030 survey was on our list of things to do. I sent you all an email asking you to fill out the survey. So I hope that you were able to do that. Certainly wasn't required, but it's a good idea, I thought, to participate in everything that can help us to bring our message along. And they're actually having another one of their public Zoom meetings on April the 28th. So if you think about it, think about going to the public Zoom meeting. I really think it's important and a good thing for us to do. And in fact, this month coming up, this particular part of the survey will concern history a bit and historic sites. And we certainly do want to speak up for the importance of history and historic sites in the town. And the more people that we get to identify the importance of those things in their lives as Wakefield residents and taxpayers, or residents anyway, the better. So that's on April 28th, which will represent a conflict with our next meeting. So I would like to ask, would you prefer that our next meeting be on the 27th or the 29th?
The 27th, I think, is election day.
Oh, okay. So that's no.
Yeah, that's a Tuesday.
Yeah, so what do you think about the 29th? Or do you want to go forward to May?
I can do either.
I can do either. I can do the 29th or wait until May.
Either way is fine with me.
Okay, who wants to vote for May?
I'll vote for May.
Okay. Anybody else voting for May?
I'll vote for May too.
Yeah, so what are we gonna do? Just hold off and miss April and just have the meeting in May?
Well, I don't know, maybe we could have, it used to matter so much in terms of reserving our meeting space at the Americal. Now
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Okay,
We of course have no idea when we're gonna all be let out of our pens here.
okay, so yeah, just let us know if there's one meeting in May or 2 meetings in May.
Okay, I'm inclined to pencil it in a meeting for the first Wednesday in May. If there is something that comes up that is urgent for us,
That's
I
May 5th.
would go forward with May 5th if there's a request for demolition or something like that. But I would really appreciate it if you would think about participating in this forum as part of our regular April meeting. It's pretty painless. They break up into little subgroups, and I think it really is important to bring our message along. This Vision 2030 thing that they're doing is helping to establish some plans for the town in the next 10 years. So many of the things that they were talking about had to do with, or several of the things that they were talking about had to do with new construction. And I think that a lot of the, and maybe you agree with me, that a lot of the concern in the town right now is all the new construction that's going on and maintaining the character that we have in the town. So I think it's important that we be strong on this and try to let our voices be heard, not just mine, but all of us, all 7 of us. So think about it. I'm going to send you annoying reminder emails about it. So, and you can, if you don't like it, if you can log into it and you can leave it at any time. That's the Vision 2030 meeting, which will be on Thursday, April 28th. I think it will be an early one around 6 o'clock.
And we have
also-
the meeting May 5th, which would be good because 3 days later is town meeting if we have anything to say.
Okay.
3 days away, so.
Another great point, Dan. Another great point. So we're penciling in the meeting of May 5th right now. And we'll see if we should need it. And we may. Hopefully no one is going to want to tear anything down in the meantime. There's also I don't know if you keep up with these things, the Envision Wakefield downtown project that's been going on for several years and continues to go on. It's I encourage you to visit the town's website, wakefield.ma.us. You can find out more information about both of those projects. You might remember that in the beginning, we were very concerned because the original Envision Wakefield plans had to do with slicing off big parts of the rockery. So we were rising in defense of the rockery there for a while, but it seems like that's not going to be an issue now, thank God.
Right.
So check that out as well on the town's website, wakefield.ma.us.
Nancy, I think on one of those things with the rockery, you know, that little marker that says Wakefield is 100 and something feet above sea level?
Yeah,
Used to be in front of the rockery, then it was on the rockery, then it was
Yep.
in back. Now it's on the common, the upper common.
right.
I think they're gonna slice a little of that, so that might have to be moved back further.
Maybe they'll put it back on the common. You know, why don't they put it back? Why don't they just leave things where they are, Dan? That's my issue. They should put it back where it was. But thank you for staying on top of these things, Dan. We can always depend on you to know what's going on.
Well, you know, my problem with all this Main Street vision, there's like 4 different groups doing 4 different things, and I'm confused between all 4.
Yeah. But the more they talk about things, really almost the more they stay the same. So I don't know, there have been so many plans, master plans, other plans, and then they get them all ready and put them on the shelf. And I'm not quite sure what happens to them after that. But I do know that people are listening. Our town leaders are listening, and it's important that we keep our preservation voices going strong. May is Preservation Month. So maybe we will brainstorm and try to come up with some sort of an event, even if it's a virtual event that we can do during Preservation Month, that we might be able to open up to the town at large. So it's just something to think about. So let's see what else we have. Oh, we had, as you know, we had 4 applicants for the 2 positions that came open this year. And the town council wanted to know if we had any recommendations, we should send them to them. And we did discuss it last month. And so I did relay that to the town council through a letter to them, letting them know that we would appreciate it if we could keep our 2 incumbents, Jen and Therese, if possible. And that the 2 gentlemen who also applied for the position, we would appreciate it if maybe they could join us as associate members, if that would be amenable to what the town council would like. We did talk about this last month, and there really is no downside to that. It would introduce 2 new people that might have new ideas, and while maintaining our incumbent members. So they are going to vote on those appointments, I believe, on April 12th. So that is about it for me. Does anyone else have anything?
Absolutely, the old burial ground.
Okay,
I sent you an email about it. And as I walk through it, I see many stones are broken, many have fallen over. There's quite a bit of damage. The town removed a tree, and in front of the tree, there's a big round area, much bigger than what the trunk of the tree was, and there's a little dip. And I wonder if perhaps there might be a body underneath that. So my message very simply was, the town needs to spend some money and restore the old burial ground. Also, across from Hart's Hardware, that town sign, there's a picture of an old stone, and it says old burial ground underneath it. That sign advertises all sorts of things through town. But when you walk by the old burial ground, you don't know that it is. There's no sign identifying it. And I think perhaps one ought to be put there to identify it, because people that aren't aware of the history might think, oh, there's an old graveyard, but they don't know anything about it. Maybe we could have a sign that not only identified it, but maybe had a short paragraph about it. Also, the Floral Way, the people don't walk on the tarred path to get onto it. They take a shortcut, and much of the lawn it's gone. It's not just dead, it's gone. The roots are even gone. So the town really needs to take a look at that.
okay, Jean, I share your concern about the old burying ground all the time. I don't know if you're aware that we do have a sign in the old burying ground.
But it's not right near the sidewalk where people can see it.
It's right, it is quite close to not on the sidewalk, it's near the burying ground itself.
Isn't there
As
2
we-
signs?
There's the sign for the old burying ground over there with a couple of sentences about it. There's also a sign for the Floral Way. There are also a couple of interpretive markers throughout the old burying ground as well. Maybe we should think of adding additional signage.
I saw this sign, the first burying ground, and that's deep inside. And that was about, oh, and there was another one that told about the Puritan symbols. Those were the only 2 I saw.
All right, Jean, well, I'm gonna send you a picture of the one that we have there.
Okay,
It's definitely there.
but it would be nice if the town could get around restoring some of those stones.
I'm more concerned with the ones that we have that could potentially be lost.
Yes,
Um,
I agree.
I don't know what happens to them if they take them away. I don't know what happens to them. And this is a continuing problem. So,
I'm a volunteer for Boston by foot. I give tours of Boston's North End, although I haven't done it for a year. And the Cops Hill Burial Ground had similar problems. And I brought it to Marty Walsh's attention, and the director of the grounds, they've totally restored that cemetery, because when I walked through with people, they said, oh, this is in awful shape. And I don't want our cemetery to get at that level.
well, no one does. We had you remember that we had an episode last year where enormous trees were uprooted there and fell and did a lot of damage here and there. Right around, I think right around September that was. And at that point, there were some gravestones that were especially imperiled, including the one for Benjamin Brown, who was in the Revolutionary War. Anyway, and it's a beautiful gravestone, and we had to, it had been, the force of the tree going up, it popped right up out of the ground, and
Wow.
it is huge. Because for those of you who don't know, for every for the old granite stones, for every foot that you see, there's probably 3 feet below. So, and they're heavy. Anyway, I was alarmed by that. And so I got Joe, my husband, and Ben my son, to go down there and to put it back in the hole anyway, but it needed more reinforcing. And we did contact the DPW director about this. I don't know what the state of it is. I have had some trouble with my knees and I haven't been able to get around to look at it. So that's why I asked you guys to be kind of deputized to walk through there, because I haven't been able to go down myself. But we'll continue to think about that and think about adding a couple more signs. We do have a significant budget left. And one of the signs that I would like to have, we talked about last month, is a sign about the first burying ground, which of course is on the common. But I'm worried about that. I'm worried about the reaction to that, and I'm pretty chicken. So I'm going to see if I can work on that in the upcoming month. So does anybody else
Nancy-
have anything? Yep.
Nancy, I think we shouldn't be paying for signage. I think the town should be paying for it,
Mhm.
not us, out of a small budget that we have.
Well,
And, I don't know, we have a new economic development person in town, and maybe we could go to her. Is there any grants out there or matching grants that the town could put in to get something done in the old cemetery? And I know the town itself has a lot going on this spring and summer at Veterans Field in back of the Hartson House. They're gonna redo that tennis court, make it
Yeah.
into pickleball courts.
Mhm.
And I know they're putting a big sewer line in underneath. And I heard that they were gonna redo the pathway going by there because it continues to wash out all the time. And I don't know if they're gonna put hot top in there or something. And I'm wondering if that is gonna continue up the Floraway. So, I mean, that's the rumor has it.
well, I don't really see how the economic development person would get involved with the old burying ground.
Well, I
It's
think
not-
our old burying ground is an asset to the town in that it brings in people that might be looking for that type of thing.
Well, yeah, but but here's the thing, Dan. We have spent maybe $1,500 of our $2,000 budget, and we've got to spend the rest of the money by June. So I think we could buy a couple of signs.
But I'm saying for the whole project, the whole cemetery, get an infusion of 20,000 or 40 or 50,000 into that.
I am not aware of any historic preservation grants to that effect, but we can certainly look into it.
And if we could look into having the town do something to fix the place up, that would be nice.
Without taking the stones away,
Right.
because I mean, I continue to hear about people selling fragments of gravestones.
Well, we don't want them to take it away.
No, no,
But in Boston at Cops Hill, there was a company that repaired the stones right in place. They didn't take them out. They didn't move them away. The company repaired them and put them back together as best they could, right in place.
but now over the course of my personal long association of 35 years or something with the old burying ground, we have had companies come and fix stones and they just break again.
Oh,
Once they break, they're broken. And it cost about $600 a stone to have them fixed. So I just found an article about an old article about communities that are trying to do something to try to safeguard their cemeteries. Anyway, I'll see if I can find that and scan it and send it to you guys. And it's definitely a conversation that we should continue to have. But I don't seem like I'm getting anywhere with the DPW, so I don't know. So we have to think about how to brainstorm how to.
maybe,
No, it's
tackle
just
this.
the Historical Commission is trying to preserve history in Wakefield to the tune of $1,500 or so a year. It can't be done. The
No.
town needs to step in there and put some serious money into restoring the old burial ground, places like that, which once it's gone, it's not coming back.
right.
And, you know, maybe that's me speaking, but we need to preserve history and we need a little help from the town to do it.
Agreed.
Not $1,500 a year out of the commission's, you know, expenses for signage, something bigger. That's just me talking.
And
Dan
very well
Bramble.
said.
I'm
Very well
with you,
said.
Dan. I'm with you, Dan, all the way.
Okay. All right, I'm never going to remember all of these things, so I'm going to do the minutes right away and send it to you guys, and then you tell me what I've forgotten, okay?
Okay.
All right, so I will, does anyone have anything else?
One more
Um,
thing.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I know we had talked about by the bandstand, quote, the bandstand, a signage there, because we do have some burial sites there. I don't know if you've
yeah.
got anything
No,
to,
I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I was busy doing a Zoom presentation for the Hartshorn House so that they could raise money during their beer tasting. Unbelievable. It was actually quite a lot of work, but it kept me very busy for about 3 weeks. And after that, I just had other stuff I had to do. So I'm continuing to worry about that sign, Dan. But it is. I'm thinking about it.
well, can we invite Sam Adams Beer to come down as a historical fundraiser for us?
Well, I don't know. Sam Adams is kind of.
I don't drink beer, so I wouldn't be involved.
Well, I don't know if Sam Adams is. I don't know. I've heard they're kind of Trumpy, but oh well, no politics. Okay. Anybody have anything else?
I do.
Oh, good.
This isn't necessarily in the capacity of the historical commission, but more of just personal. I started reading up on kit houses, old mail order houses back in the early 1900s, you could actually buy a whole house pre-cut from a catalog. Sears and Roebuck was one of the most more known ones. you can Google it and kind of check it out. I find it kind of interesting that, you know, IKEA, you get an IKEA cabinet and it takes you 3 hours to put together. And, you know, over 100 years ago, you could have a whole house with like 30,000 pieces, including your roof, your flooring, your windows, your doors, everything pre-cut, sent to you on a train. And it would probably take you about 3 months to put it together with a 70-page installation instruction manual. But in any event, what I wanted to get to was I was on a Zoom meeting with a woman who has been doing a lot of research on particularly Sears kit houses. There was about 8 companies that nationwide that sold these types of houses. And it turns out she's in the Midwest, but her daughter is actually lives in Newton. And there was a couple of us who were chatting, and she said that she might come to Massachusetts in the fall to visit her daughter. And she was actually looking for volunteers because she'd like to drive around and just kind of try to identify some houses that could be kit houses. And I volunteered. So she said if she'd come in the fall that maybe I'd drive her around Wakefield and maybe she could try to see if there was any kit houses around here. So I thought that might be fun.
Right here in Greenwood, there's a house right near Oak Street. It's a big, tall house, and it was bought from a Sears catalog and erected. It's still in wonderful condition. So is what I'll do, I will take a picture of it and I will email it to everybody. And I'll give you the street address.
That would be great. I know there's another researcher named Andrew, and on his website, he's gone through the various states that he's traveled through, and there is one in Wakefield. It might be the same one. I haven't had a chance to take a look at it, but I just find that kind of fascinating that you could buy a whole house, you know, over 100 years ago and put it together yourself. It seems to be a lot are in the Midwest, but there seems to be a bit of resurgence of interest in those types of houses. A lot of bungalows. I live in just a 4-square, and actually those were very popular. It's actually how I found out what a kit house was in the first place. But yeah, just something, if there's something in the fall, if she ends up coming here and we end up driving her around, maybe we could, and maybe if we're all meeting in person, who knows, we could, you know, meet with her.
You could get so many things out of the old Sears catalog.
Mhm.
It was really thick.
Yes.
Thick.
Yeah, I mean, they were saying it was ridiculous. It was 3 inches thick, and it was actually one of the reasons they got into actually making these houses, because they figured, well, buy the house and then you can buy everything out of the catalog to put in the house.
That's
So
right.
it's kind of marketing of we sell everything else, let's just sell the house itself.
Well, that's great. That's something that we have. I don't know anything at all about, I have to tell you. So I'll look forward to hearing more on your research and Jean's. So Jean, email to all of us the picture.
Oh, I
of the
will.
house.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 100 years ago, it was probably the returning veterans from maybe World War I that started building a lot of these houses, like they did after World War II here in Wakefield. A lot of houses.
Yeah,
In
it
what
seems
I call Victory Village.
yes. Yeah, it was kind of it was kind of almost cheaper housing is what they called it, because you came with a house plan, and the lumber was already cut. And they said that kind of saved around 30% versus having a carpenter at your property and having to cut it by hand. They used to go through these huge lumber mills, they'd cut it and they'd ship it. And there's also kind of these types of houses, for example, for Sears also provided mortgages for these houses. And they were very forward thinking in that they didn't ask a lot of questions on mortgages. They basically asked, do you own the property? Do you have a job? What's your job? So there were a lot of groups of individuals, single women, immigrants, minorities, who perhaps had difficulties getting mortgages from the more traditional banks that just had different guidelines, to be honest with you. So Sears was very forward thinking, and it was actually an opportunity for a lot of groups of folks to be able to buy their first home. And I think that that's kind of special as well, to be able to have a variety of people being able to actually get their first mortgages. There was a bunch of soldiers coming back from World War I. They needed housing. Kind of the culture was changing a little bit. There wasn't as many multi-generational people living together. There was kind of a movement to get your own house and to not live with your parents or your grandparents. So I just find that kind of a fascinating part of history.
Another fascinating thing about Greenwood, I live on the corner of Oak Street and Crosby Road. And on Crosby Road, there are several Cape Cod type houses. They were built after World War II. The servicemen bought them on the GI Bill and they paid $2,500 for them.
Mhm.
And there's a whole row of them on Crosby Road.
Yeah, the catalogs, you can actually see the catalogs on it's archives.org, but I mean, they run anywhere from like $800 for like a little summer cottage all the way to like $2,500 for like a nice big colonial.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Make a great show for WCAT.
Yes.
Okay, well, that was extremely interesting. I hope we can find some kid houses inside Wakefield. I wonder if I put something on the historical Facebook page, if maybe the people knew about something like that, they could get in touch. Because there are a lot of people out there that know an awful lot of stuff about Wakefield and that do follow that. Okay, anything else? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Nancy.
Thank you, Fran.
I
You're
second
welcome.
it. I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Bye.
Bye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody. See you next month.
Good night.
Have a good week.
Night.